right, guys, here's what we're making today. The Taymor Crossbody by Linda Lynn Designs. You guys, this is a bag that is packed full of pockets. So on the front, you have a full wallet. It opens up with a twist lock and 2 magnetic snaps, so it's very, very secure. You have a zipper pocket, you have a slip pocket, and on this side you have 8 credit card slots and another slip pocket, and there's room to put other stuff in there. And then it closes with a twist lock and 2 magnetic snaps, so it's really secure, which is nice. On the back, you have a slip pocket that has a magnetic snap, perfect for the big cell phones. Mine fits in there just fine. Then you have a top zipper closure. You have a huge zipper pocket in the back and 2 slip pockets. That's what I did. One for pins and one for another. And then you have plenty of room inside too. So you'll see at the end what I would do different. I would be a little more careful on my fabric choices to keep it a little less bulky in certain areas. And I go over that at the end. But I'm going to make another one. This one will be for sale on my website, but I think I'm going to do another one. I might either do leather or cork. I haven't quite decided. It's gorgeous. Thank you, Linda, for letting me do your pattern. It's a beautiful pattern. The other thing I will say, and I wanted to say this at the beginning of the video, don't be overwhelmed by the number of pieces because there are a ton of pieces. It comes together very well. At the beginning of each section, she tells you what pieces you need for that section, which is a godsend for any pattern, really. But don't be overwhelmed by the pieces. The pieces are there obviously for a reason, but it all comes together so easily. I don't know what she calls it. If it's an intermediate, probably an intermediate. Let's see. I would say it's an intermediate. The other thing I would recommend is the drop-in lining. Now, depending on your materials, you could certainly do a birthed bag. But she gives you both options in the pattern. I did, in this one, I did the drop-in lining, and I finished it on Thor, which was easy peasy. Easy. So that's really it. I'm going to make another one just as the pattern is, but I'm going to use lighter weight lining, and I'm either going to use cork or leather. The Taymor Crossbody by Linda Lynn's Designs. Go get the pattern and let's get started. Thanks for watching. Hi everybody, this is Barbie with Jeannie's Designs, and unfortunately over the next few frames my microphone didn't work, so I'm just going to do a voiceover and then it comes back. So who knows what happens? Sometimes it just happens, you have to go with it. So what I'm talking about here is I already did the strap, and I did my zipper or my strap ends with my wide rivets, which I absolutely love. But I used jam webbing from Zipper Valley, which is a gorgeous color with this bag. So I already did that separately. I do have a separate video for that. So this is the inside zipper pocket part of the wallet. And I'm saying you need to have your wallet piece and your lining piece, and you measure up from the bottom and do your box. Then she tells you where to place it up from the bottom of the outside. It's an exterior piece. So you measure up and you attach that there. And then we're just going to sew around the box. Very easy. Oh, and I'm using some of these really long clips that I have, which really come in handy to keep the edges and the piece on perfectly. So I will just sew around the box, then I will cut the box open, and then I will pull those lining pieces through to the back. I do use tape to make it stay nicely. So this next step is to add the zipper. So you need to have your put tape on the zipper, then I add my zipper pull. Then we're going to put that zipper inside the hole that we created, and we're going to sew around the zipper opening. Once we do that, we're going to we're going to tie the threads off in the back. Obviously, I love to do that. And then we're going to pull the lining pieces down together and sew those closed on 3 sides. So this next step is to do the slip pocket that goes on the opposite side. So this is right sides together. We're stitching across the long top edge. Then we will turn it right side out and top stitch it. So here we are trimming one side of that seam. She does a really good job of decreasing the bulk. So we're trimming one side to about 1/8 of an inch, and then I'm trimming the corners off just a little bit. Really makes a difference. So here I am just top stitching that slip pocket. So here we're adding the slip pocket underneath the zipper pocket. Make sure you pull the zipper pocket out of your way. So now we're doing the card slots. The card slots, I'm doing version 2. She gives you version 1, which is a long piece. This is version 2, 4 smaller pieces. So we're measuring down and taping down one long edge, and then we're going to top stitch all 4 of those. And I just do chain stitching here just to make it a little bit simpler. But fold down each one long edge, and then we're top stitching. So here is the card slot backing piece, and she gives you measurements to mark on each short edge, and then we're adding the card slots on those marks, sewing across the bottom, all the way across the bottom, about 1/8 of an inch, and adding each one as we go. So you'll do that 4 times to get your 4 card slots on there. The thing to remember with card slots is you want to follow her guidelines and the lines that she had you draw, but you always want to make sure that they're evenly spaced between each other as well. So just keep that in mind. So now we're just going to divide the card slots in two and base down each side, just 1/8 of an inch. And I usually come up from the bottom on both sides so that my card slots don't move or get jumbled up. And then we'll divide the card slots down the center. So now that you've divided your card slots and basted them in place, we're going to add the card slot backing piece number 2, right sides together with the card slots we just completed. We will leave about a 5-inch turning hole on the bottom to turn the card slots out. We will do some trimming just like we've done before. Trim the excess and then cut the corners just a little bit so we can get good, nice corners. So now that we've turned those card slots, we are going to do a row of top stitching across the top because this also becomes a slip pocket. And then on the bottom, we're not going to stitch that right now. We're going to put a piece of double-sided tape to close that turning hole because we will stitch that closed once we put it on the other piece. All right, once we've done that, we'll set this piece aside. Now we're going to take piece wallet gusset piece P, and you should have two of them. We're going to lay the short ends right sides together and do a line of stitching like it calls for in the pattern, and then we are going to trim that seam on one side down to 1/8 of an inch and also clip the corners. Then we will turn them right side out and top stitch all the way around all four sides. Two sides will be raw, and two sides will have either one will have a seam and one will be folded. Okay, once we finish this, my sound comes back. So thank you for bearing with me. I appreciate you guys. All right, so let's do the front wallet piece. So you need piece D and piece Q. And then you need your other two completed pieces that we've done already. We're going to do the magnetic snaps, and I added a piece for the twist lock, turn lock, whatever you decide to put. I already marked for my magnetic snaps. Let's put those on. Let's see. And I am, because there's no interfacing on this piece by itself, I'm adding a piece of Decaville. And then my washer. And just make sure you put, I'm putting the male portion on this piece. Goodness gracious. This is just very strong, which is a very good thing. And then we'll cover that with a little piece of fleece. Here's one, two. Okay. Okay, let's save these two. Oh my gosh, look at the gold on the lavender. It's so pretty. Oh my goodness. I love it. All right, I did mark on my outside piece. Sorry. Ugh. And I just need to get that off of there. All right. So now we did that. Oh, and we need to put the other two on. Oh, I got to do this. Yeah, where's my other piece? Oh, this goes here. Sorry, I'm just a little confused. All right, this goes, our card slots go on the piece that we just put our magnetic snaps on. Okay, hold on. I'm going to iron this. All right, so take your card slots. The rounded edge is your top. I did put a little piece of tape back here just to keep it. And we're going to measure up from the bottom what she tells you in the pattern. And you just want to make sure it's centered. Okay. Beautiful. I'm just using some large clips, some long clips. I did put a piece of tape there, but just in case. All right, now we're going to sew down the sides and across the bottom. All right, so on your outside piece of your wallet, put your name tag, and she tells you about 2 3/4 up, but you do you, centered. So I got that on, and I just put a little piece of fleece over it. Remember, the round edges are at the top. Now we're going to take our gussets, our little gussets, and we're marking up on the card slot piece up from the bottom, and we're attaching those with the top stitching on the top. The raw edge is on the side. And we're just going to baste those in place. Beautiful. All right, now we're going to put these two together and clip them in place. And we're going to sew around the sides, the top curve, leaving the bottom, this bottom straight edge completely open. Now, I know a lot of people will sometimes mark their curves just to make sure they get good curves, and that's not a bad idea, really. I'm just, my seam allowance is on page 19 at the top. So I think I might do that. I might just sketch it in. Let's see. Just on the curves. You know, the curves can sometimes be tricky. So I rarely do this, but I think it's actually a very good idea. It does take a little extra time, but that's okay. Okay. I like it. All right, let's stitch that together. All right, so I went ahead and pinked my curves. Let's turn it right side out. Poke out your curves. That looks pretty good. Let me grab my little corner tool here. Be careful on your curves. Wow, those look pretty good. Okay. Nice. Now we're going to fold our gusset side pieces in. And I'm going to use some of these clips. Just holds it a little better. Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Now we're going to baste this bottom edge closed, 1/8 of an inch. And then we're going to top stitch. All right, that wasn't bad at all, really. I'm actually surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised. Linda, well done. Let's see how it looks on the inside here. Perfect. I like it. So that's what you have. Got a little thread right here. All right, next. Okay, so take your zipper lining piece, find your centers, and take your front piece that we just basted the bottom close and top stitched. And we're going to lay these 2 gussets at the bottom of the slip pocket and clip those in place. And just baste it in place. Okay. This gets thick over here. And then you're going to take one of your wallet side panels, one of those, and we're going to lay it right side down on top of that. Yeah. And there'll be a little, I think there's going to be a little hangover, and that's okay. We'll trim that later. Just a tiny bit, really. And then we're going to sew that down that at the seam allowance in the pattern, which is okay. Yep. It's very thick right there. Now let's trim that, and we're going to trim this side of that seam. Down to about 1/8 of an inch. Perfect. Okay, and we're going to repeat that on the other side. Baste your gusset on first. And then let's add our other E piece. All right, so that's what you have so far. I love it. Just making sure that I caught on my none of my basting stitches are showing now. I do have a little piece of fabric in there. Okay. Okay. So now you should have found the bottoms of this front panel with the card slots and your back panel with the zipper. We're going to find those centers and clip that bottom together. And baste along the bottom. For these wings, gusset wings, I would choose a fairly lightweight material, these pieces. I wouldn't use vinyl. Nope. All right. Now this is the top panel. Find your centers on both. And we're going to add that just to the back zipper pocket. And sew that on. And we're going to do the same thing on the bottom panel. And the gusset, I do have some Decaville Heavy on, just FYI. And I'm using these big clips because I want it to stay put. I don't want it to move on me. All right, let's do the top first. Seam allowance in the pattern. And I do believe we're going to trim the seam. Let me just make sure. Nope. But we're going to push that seam allowance that we just did on the top towards the top and top stitch. Okay. Very nice. So that's what you have so far. There's the top panel that is top stitched. Now this bottom, for me, is going to be just a little trickier. I'm going to, I'm just going to push out that panel. It helps me keep it out of the way, I think. Maybe not. No. Yeah, I would definitely use your lining fabric for this gusset. Ugh, way too thick for me. We'll get it though. I'm going to use a couple of these little guys. Yeah, these are too big. Let me use these smaller ones. A little easier. And I'm tempted to go from the center out just only because of the materials that I used. Yeah. Let me see. I think I'm going to. I think it'll be easier for me. Let's try it. Yeah, it gets really thick right there. Okay, yeah, I think that was easier. So let's do it on this side too. At least for me. Just take your time, you know? It's not a race, Barb. I'm talking to myself. Okay. Yeah. Okay, I am going to come over this part one more time. I can see a couple basting stitches. I'm not having that. Yeah. There we go. There we go. That's better. Let's see. Yeah. All right, then we're going to fold that down with the seam towards the bottom and top stitch. All right, so the next step is to find where your magnets are, put a little dot on them, and then that transfers over to this piece, and that's where we're going to put it. So I just put a little dot of my Sew Tight marker, and I just marked it, and there it is. It's just so easy. Let's grab our other part of our snaps. And we'll add those. And I'll do this on fast forward. Okay. All right, so I did go ahead and put my twist lock on because it takes me a while to do it. And you see me do it 1,000 times. And the other thing I did not use, because this vinyl is pretty thick, I didn't use the stabilizer, piece Q. I might use it on another one, but this vinyl is so thick, this does not need it. So just keep that in mind. You might not need it. This is so nice, though. Look. You've got a zipper pocket, a slip pocket, 8 credit card slots, and another slip pocket. And then there's a little bit of room in there. And it's very secure because it's got magnetic snaps and a twist lock. I love it. All right, so we're going to do our back slip pocket. So I have piece H, and I don't have any interfacing. We're going to draw down each side. Let's see what she tells you to. Let's see. Each long side, we're going to draw a line. And then we also already marked for our snap. I'm putting my snap on at the end because I'm going to use a rivet snap for this one. So I did mark it on the outside. Okay, now let's add some tape. And we're going to fold these sides in. Just going to move that. Okay, let's fold these sides. I'm on the wrong side. And we're going to fold these in. On both long sides. This is my favorite way to do slip pockets. You just get a better look on your corners this way. That's my opinion. Obviously, Linda thinks that same thing. Okay, perfect. Now, we're going to fold these wrong sides together and clip them, and then we're going to just baste across the top. Yeah. No. No. No, Barb. Right sides together, and we're going to just baste across the top. Now, you could put a trim piece on here if you wanted. I am not going to. This really just speaks for itself, this gorgeous stuff. Gorgeous vinyl. So now we're just going to stitch across the top, and then we're going to trim it like we've been doing all the other pieces. Oops, nope, I want to do 3/8 of an inch. Okay. Then let's trim one of the sides off to 1/8 of an inch. I always use these scissors wrong. There we go. They're very handy though. Perfect. All right, and then I am still going to trim this corner, getting rid of some of that bulk, especially with this vinyl. Then we're going to turn it right side out. I still don't have an air conditioner. I mean, a hair dryer in here to heat things up. Someday I will. Okay. And I'm just going to fold these together and top stitch across the top. Okay, now I am going to go ahead and put on my snap because I want to add a little interfacing, and it's right there, I believe. Let me just remark it in case I'm not right. Oh my goodness. Let me see. Yeah. That's it right there. I'll just remark it. I'm going to come up just a little. Yep. Okay. Okay. I'm going to put a little piece of Decaville in there. Okay. So I'm going to reach in there and put a piece of Decaville. All right, so take your main body A, your exterior, mark your centers, and we're adding our pocket, that slip pocket, centered a certain distance up from the bottom, and we're going to stitch around the sides. And I'm using these long clips to keep it in place. Okay, very nice. All right, now we're going to add the other part of our magnetic snap. Let me find it. And we're going to do it with our little Sew Tight. Easy way to do this. It works most of the time. Depends on your fabric, but this works great on here anyway. So I just pulled this up, put some Sew Tight right in the center of my snap and push it down. And there is where my other part of my snap is going to go. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I'm going to use a little die here to make my hole. Since I can't get my little hand press in there. And I'm going to use a piece of Decaville Heavy for this. Let me grab one. Let's see. There. Because that's going to get a lot of use. Perfect. Okay, let's put it on. Perfect. Okay. So on your exterior gusset, make sure you have your Decaville Light. Then you're adding your Decaville Heavy centered on the bottom out of your seam allowance. And then you have 2 pieces of extra Decaville Heavy here. And she tells you exactly where to put it. Now, the other thing is I'm doing a drop-in lining. So on each exterior piece, I'm measuring down 3/4 of an inch. That's not a big secret. And the same on my 2 exterior pieces. So there's my line on that one, and there's my line on that one. Okay. Now we're going to do our D-rings. So our D-rings have 2 pieces of Decaville Heavy inside there. This is both D-rings. So I'm just going to do them both at the same time. These are 3/4 inch. Okay, let's do them. I will be sewing it together on Thor. All right, let's cut this in 2 pieces. Get my D-rings. And we're going to measure. I'm going to put 2 little pieces of tape on the bottoms. On the inside. On both. Okay. And then we're going to measure up. Let me see what she says. Yeah. From one side, measure what she tells you to in the pattern. Very hard to see that. Let me see if I can see this one better. Not really. Yeah, I can. That's better. This one's right here. Okay. Add your D-ring. Take the tape off and fold it down to that line on both short ends. Oh dear. Okay, perfect. Okay. And then I'm just going to clip these in place so they stay together. Sometimes they don't. Next up. All right, so on your gusset, mark your holes for your D-rings. Fold that in. And I just marked them already. And so then I'm going to add my D-rings one at a time. Yeah, I'm going to use all of my leather, or my vinyl is so thick. I'm going to use some long rivets. I sell these on my website. They just really come in handy for stuff like this. Yeah, you need it. It's too bad, but you do need it. It's just that my vinyl is so thick. There we go. That's going to be so much better. All right, let me get rid of these. Okay, doing that on both ends. You can do hidden connectors too, if you wanted to. She doesn't give directions for that, but you could certainly do it. Okay, I don't know why that's not going in there. There we go. Okay. Perfect. Okay. Let me go press those. All right, so I pressed these. Look so good with that little alligator. All right, we're going to add it to our back piece first. Centered. Clip that on, and then we will trim our corners or snip our corners. So I'll do that on fast forward. All right, so a couple things I did is I snipped in here and I put a piece of tape on either side. Well, I thought I did, but I didn't. So that when I do the drop-in lining, I can lay that flat. it really helps. With this particular vinyl too, it'll stay really good as well with the double side tape. Okay. Now I am going to do just below that, I am going to do one more row of stitching all the way around. And make sure you stop before your trim piece there. Okay, does she have us trim it? Let me see. No. She does have us trim the corners, the bottom curves here. And you'll notice my Decaville Heavy is coming up a little bit, so I'm just going to tape it down. Once the bag's done, it'll stay down. Then I'm going to use a piece of 1-inch tape. It's I didn't press it very well, and I knew this might happen, so not a big deal. Perfect. All right, let's repeat that with the other side. And I just realized she has you put your D-rings on after you do this because of how narrow the gusset is. And I would recommend you do that because it will help you. Just FYI. It's doable, but it's tight. So I would do that for sure next time. I have my zipper foot on, so I can do it, but it was tight. All right, let's do our inside zipper. So let's make our zipper lining, and this is piece J. You should have 2 pieces left. Okay, I'm going to lay my zipper right side up on top. And then I'll baste that on. And I do it without my zipper on. So the other thing I did do is I put tape all around the top. So when I do my drop-in lining, I'm ready to go. I think I'm going to run out of bobbins, so if I do, I'll just have to run a new bobbin. I'm going to fold that over and baste that nice and flat. And I'm using an overlay that I cut with my press. I'll show it to you. Let's add this to this side. Oh my gosh, I don't want to say much because my double-sided tape paper is coming off beautifully. Okay. Same story, second verse. Okay, let's add our zipper pull. Beautiful. Okay, and here is my overlay. So let me grab my lining piece, one of my lining pieces. I'm going to find my centers. And then let's see what she tells you how far down we're going to put it. Hold, let me look. All right, measure down what she tells you to in the pattern. And center that. Perfect. And I did go ahead and put a beautiful thing tag there. It's very cute. I'm just going to add a little piece of tape here so it doesn't move on me. Then we're going to stitch that on all the way around the outside. And before I do that, let me just check my bobbin. Oh, I got plenty for this. This is a 3 bobbin bag, just FYI. Yep. Nothing wrong with that. Okay, let's stitch around. I'll pull those threads to the back. we'll stop where we started. Perfect. All right, cut out your center. Very nice. Okay, now we're going to add our zipper. And I can use my zipper jig. Beautiful. Let's take the tape off. And add our, oh, this is perfect. Perfect. Okay. Now, I'm just going to pull that back in. And we'll leave our lining open and we'll stitch all the way around that inside. Okay. All right, let's pull those to the back. Oops. And tie those off. Yeah, perfect. This is a really big zipper pocket. I love it. Okay. Very nice. Okay, we're going to pull that down, and I am going to close this all the way up because we're doing a drop-in. So I'm going to trim this off. Okay, oops. Close your pocket up. Okay. All right, let's do the interior slip pocket. Same scenario, down the long edge, draw a line, put some double-sided tape, and fold those edges in. Perfect. We're getting there, guys. Not a ton left. I'm running out of pieces. I love that. Okay, this time we're going to fold it wrong sides together. And we're going to base the top closed. And then we are going to add a piece of trim. I love it. What did I do? I did my crop for the trim. Pretty. Okay. Add your trim. I forgot to put my line down the center. Let's do that. Okay. Perfect. Add this just shy of that line. I'm sticking to it. Fold that over. And top stitch. Make sure you caught it in the back. If you didn't, just add another row of stitches. We caught it. Trim off the excess on the sides. Nice. Now grab your other lining piece. And we're going to add it. How far down? Let's see. Oops, I gotta mark my centers. Let me check. All right. She tells you in the pattern how far down from the top to place it, and then we're just going to stitch all the way around. The two sides and the bottom. Okay. Now, she has you divide it. You can divide it any way you'd like. I am going to make a pen pocket and a little bigger pocket. So from this left side, while I'm looking at it, I'm measuring over 3 inches. Then I'm going to stitch up that 3-inch mark. Perfect. You could also add rivets. I don't think it needs rivets myself, not for my bag. But she has you add some rivets, which is a nice touch. So there is our 2 lining pieces. Love it. Okay, we're almost out of pieces, guys. So now we need to let me get all right, let's do our zipper placket. So on each of the exteriors, fold in on the wrong side what she tells you to in the pattern. And then on the exterior, mark in on one side, add a piece of tape. And that's where we're going to start. Oh, and make sure you do your zipper tape at 90 degrees, just like normal. I started using a staple to keep it in place. Now we're going to add another piece of tape on top of this, and I am using 1/8 of an inch tape. I know, living dangerously. And then we're going to add our lining. So on your lining, you're leaving one end unfolded so that we can match the exterior. Okay, so we're going to sandwich our zipper in between. And then we'll fold that up to match our exterior piece. And it's not as much, interestingly enough. I'm a little far up here. Let me try that again. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right, perfect. And stitch that together at the seam allowance in the pattern, which is, okay. Pay attention to the seam allowance. Oops. I'm doing the wrong side, you guys. That's funny. That's hilarious, actually. I'm doing the side where my zipper isn't. I'm not sure I've ever done that before. It's this side. Yep. Yep, Barb. Okay. I've never done that before. Isn't that funny? I have no idea. No idea. Not a big deal. That'll all be in the seam, but that's just kind of weird, Bulb. Now we'll fold that over, wrong sides together. And then we'll top stitch around it. And we'll repeat that on the other side. Exact same way. Okay. Perfect. Okay, I'm going to change my bobbin. All right, let's do this, and I'll do it on fast forwards. Exactly the same process. Okay, sorry about that. What I'm doing is I'm trimming these little corners. I didn't do it last time, but it helps. It makes these things not quite, just make sure you're not trimming, you're not cutting your zipper. All right. Wrong sides together. All right, let's add, so get your facing pieces. There's 2 of them. And, you know, now that I think about it, I'm going to go ahead and mark my drop-in marking on here. 3/4 of an inch. That way I don't have to worry about it later. I like that. Okay. So now find the center of your zipper placket. And I always start with if there's a zipper pocket inside, because I want my zippers going, opening and closing the same way. Right side up. And then we're going to add our little top facing piece. Okay. Right on top of that. Add a few more clips. All right. Let's sew that together at the seam allowance in the pattern. Okay. All right. Then we're going to fold that up with the zipper placket going up, and we're going to top stitch on the lining piece with the seam allowance underneath. Make sure my zipper pulls out of the way. This is a very cute bag. It might have to be my new bag. I know it. It wouldn't be right if I didn't say it. All right, so that's what you have. Oh my gosh, that is so cute. Now take your other piece, and we are going to, I'm going to separate my zipper all the way. Let's take it off. Just easier. And again, right side up, centered. And you always, I always double check that when I put these two pieces together, my zipper is correct. And how I know that is I turn it right sides together and my zippers are correct. It's a beautiful thing. Okay. Let's add our other facing. And this is piece C. Then we'll repeat that on this side. I'll do that on fast forward. Pretty. Love it. Next step. All right, so take your lining gusset and add your little top, what's it called? Piece X, the lining gusset facing. And we're going to sew that together at the seam allowance in the pattern. And then fold that up, and we're going to top stitch on the lining. Repeat that on the other side. Okay. Find your centers, and I already found the centers on the top here. And we're going to measure down for our drop-in and mark those. I don't know if this is a disappearing pin. No, hold on. All right, let's add it to our lining pieces. And I'm just going to clip my zipper out of the way on both sides. Let's do it. And I'll do this on fast forward. You've seen me do it. So clipping, you know, is like watching paint dry. All right, one thing, start at your normal seam allowance and then increase it once you get about 1.5 inches down. And then once you get to the other side, decrease it again. All right, let's turn our exterior right side out. This is going to be a challenge, I think, because of my materials, but we'll do it. Very cute. That was a little bit of a challenge, but that's okay. I knew it would be. Now we're going to fold the top down to that line on both the exterior and the lining. And then I will move over to Thor. Can you imagine me birthing this bag? No way. Wouldn't happen. I knew it would be bad, but it's not bad. It just takes time. You just have to take your time. You cannot rush that turning process. Otherwise, you're going to rip things and you won't be happy.
Now, if I'd used a hairdryer, that probably would have made a difference. I thought about going to get one. We only have one little hairdryer. Neither of us dry our hair, except on a rare occasion. So, okay. Oh my, so pretty. Okay, let's do the lining. Okay. Now we're going to put the lining down inside our exterior. All right, let's do it. I'm going to have my zipper pocket in the back with my slip pocket. Okay, so I'm going to match up my sides, and I'll do this on fast forward. It's very time consuming. But match up your side seams. Just trying to find my centers. Perfect. It fits perfect, actually. Way to go, Linda. Very nice. Okay. All right. So one thing I'm going to have to be careful is to make sure that my zipper gusset stays.
All right, let's do it.
Down.
Here we go. Holding my threads. And I'm going to pull my threads to the inside.
Gosh, this is going to be so nice. All right, let me go get 4 already. Oh, goodness. There we go. Just really monitor your zipper placket because it's going to want to pop up, and that's okay. We don't want it to, though. Now, when I go over these thick areas where the seams are, I go fairly, not fast, but I don't slow down because Thor doesn't like to slow down in thick areas. There we go. Okay, let me put this in my little thing for all my clips. They're getting in my Y. All right. And stop where we started. That was shockingly easy. Let's make sure I caught it all the way around. Yep, beautiful. Amazing. Let's pull those threads to the inside. I had a little thing over here. I don't see where it went. Okay, guys, here it is. I did go ahead and put the zipper end on and my zipper pull. You guys, this is a very cute bag. The Taymor Crossbody by Linda Lenz Designs. It has a full wallet in the front. It's beautiful. You got 8 credit card slots, 2 slip pockets, and a zipper pocket, and then room for other things. Closes with 2 magnetic snaps and a twist lock. On the back, you have a full slip pocket. Perfect. On the inside, you have 2 slip pockets and a zipper pocket. The zipper pocket is huge. I love that. And then the crossbody strap. I love this bag. Now, a couple things I would do different. It has nothing to do with the pattern. I would use, for my lining, a 300 denier waterproof canvas, something very light, or a cotton woven with some SF101 on it, something like that. This liner text that I used is way too thick. It's just way too thick for this type of bag. I love Linotex, but not for this type of bag. The other thing I would change is these gussets. I used my vinyl. Don't do that. It's way too thick. I would use your lining, whatever you choose for your lining, for both of these wing gussets. And the other thing I would change is I would widen it by an inch to 2 inches. Probably more like about 1.5 inches, widen the gusset. Which means you're going to have to widen your lining gusset and your exterior gusset and your top lining gusset pieces, those little piece X. Other than that, I wouldn't change a thing. I love it. It's very cute. Let me put it on for you. I have to be careful. My microphone is right there. There it is. I know a lot of people really prefer the slim design, but it's a little too slim for me. So this one will be for sale, and I'm going to make another one. I think I'm going to do one in leather. Some thinner leather. Yeah, some thinner leather. Oh my goodness, it's so nice. So those are the only things I would change. It's a beautiful bag. Linda, you did a great job. The Taymor Crossbody by Linda Lynn Designs. Go get the pattern and make your own. This one will be for sale. Be sure and give me a thumbs up. Thanks.